With the Fate Part 2 collab happening for a while now, and characters like Himiko Nova being introduced, it is pretty exciting to see how the meta is panning out. In today's video, we'll be checking out the tier list, and we'll be mainly focusing on all the new characters that's been released so far, characters like Rin and Gilgamesh and Himiko Nova, and we'll be talking about the whole meta. These are the characters and teams you'll be looking to build if you want the best characters of the game right now. With that said, let's jump right into it. Just real quick though before we start, listen, pulling for characters can be a train wreck like this one, which is why I like to introduce a website named Aniba. Aniba offers top-up services that I personally use in order to get the best top-up deals at the best price for the same top-ups that I already planned to purchase. You know I only use the trusted sources, which is perfect since Aniba complies with Hoyoverse's top-up service guidelines, and that's the biggest doubt removed. So to get all the hype new characters coming with Aniba, click my link in the description, select your region, purchase the bundle you'd like, enter yours or maybe even a friend's server and user ID, complete the purchase, and voila, your resources are in game, no fussy login required, zero hassle involved. You can even get exclusive cashback for your purchases that you can claim in your Aniba wallet for your next purchase, so it's just more money saved. If you're already planning on spending anyway, Aniba is honestly a good deal, and why not give it a look-see? And this actually helps you very much to afford food on the table, and I appreciate your support. Now then, back to the video. To start us off, I will have to say that it's kind of weird, honestly, to see this recent characters. To start with Himiko Nova and all the collab characters, right, that we pretty much have back to back. None of them are Elation path, which Elation is the newest path introduced within this version. One would think that focus really hard on this entire new path and playstyle, which they did for a while, but now they suddenly just released Himiko and then two of the collab characters as well, and none of them are Elation, so it's really interesting to see where they end up in this meta. Without further ado though, let's just start with tier 0, and we'll mainly focus on the changes in the new characters. To start, we see Archer. Really, there's not much to say about this guy. With the help of Rin Tosaka being released, Archer's team is pretty much insanely consistent now, even considering skill point unfriendliness of Archer. Now I will say if you pull for Rin and you have Archer but you don't have the Sparkle, it's still not as consistent. You really do need a trifecta of Archer, Rin, and Sparkle for the team to shine. But if you do though, they are surprisingly consistent. You probably would never feel like you're running out of skill points. And an Archer that doesn't care about skill points and can just shoot away every time, that's an Archer that's really scary. He has enough damage to still hold his own as honestly the best single target nuker in the game. So yeah, I think no one's doubting Archer in MLC specifically, which is what this list is mainly about, but we'll go through the rest as well later. As for the rest of tier 0, we do see a new addition in Himiko Nova. I mean, there's nothing to really be shocked about with Himiko. She's incredibly strong right now because, well, the modes probably help out Himiko herself, and honestly Himiko's own damage output is at the level of tier 0. The weird thing about Himiko is she introduced a whole new mechanic named assist skill. Well, we're pretty much still in like the process of seeing Elation path. It's not that they can't do this, it's just a little bit weird, right? But hey, I don't mind it at all. Himiko Nova is easily tier 0 in my opinion. Is she the best character of the whole game though? I do not think so, but her level of performance should be around this tier, assuming you have her ideal teams, which usually consists of only at least one Astro Express crew, and that is not that hard to build at all, which is why I already suggested for anyone who's new or they don't have a good team, you could just have a good team for her already, because her team is honestly very versatile, where the only requirement is you need one other Astro Express crew. A lot of people run the free Danheng PT, and that can already be a team that Himiko could be used, with the rest being general supports. I personally agree that she should be tier 0, though I will say depending on if she has future allies for the assist skill setup, she might stay tier 0 or drop down. It'll depend on future directions. If Hoyoverse decides to randomly steer clear of assist skill for a long time, then Himiko will probably fall off pretty quickly. That's assuming if the focus suddenly comes back to Elation path again, but we'll see what happens. But yep, as for the rest of tier 0, nothing too much is of shock. I think all the characters here are pretty much the strongest teams that you can expect in MOC. We move on to the support DPSs though. We see the new addition of Rin Tosaka. Now, should I say it, I'm not sure if Pritwin has the main DPS Rin, but I personally think there's two ways to play her. To start with just support DPS though, Rin is just really good for Archer, and that's like pretty much the only reason. And I will say the main contributor is not even her own damage output or the buffs that she has. All of those help, but I think the main thing that she really helps with is the skill point. She herself can technically just never use her skill first of all, but if you do use her skill, it's good damage anyway, and it just gives you so much skill points when you use Archer with Rin because of their unique joint follow-up attack. You can get like a 4 skill point boost mid-archer skill usage, so that's like a free 2 archer shots every single time. That just makes Archer insane, and if Archer is insane, Rin will be insane too, which is why she's in tier 0. Now there's a main DPS playstyle for Rin though, but that requires you to have Ceridra, and it's still a little bit nicher because it's kind of stage dependent. But when you get it off though, dude, Rin can nuke the enemy like crazy because of how Ceridra would copy the skill effects without caring for the gem energy. Well, I already made a video on that if you want to check that out. Regardless though, her placement in tier 0 I think is fair. She's just one of the best teams, right? Like Archer is one of the best after all. Now for the rest of tier 0, you do see the similar characters, like they've all been around. I would say Sparkle is solidifying herself even still now in tier 0 with the same reason of Rin as well. As long as Archer is good, Sparkle will always be around. And for the rest, I would say I mostly agree. Maybe, I do agree. I was gonna say maybe Elation Trailblazer isn't as good here, but well, considering some teams with Evanescence, I will have to say it's fair to say Elation Trailblazer is still tier 0. What is shocking is just how good Remembrance Trailblazer is. They see no form of like slowing down. They're still really good, not just with the Remembrance team, but just as a general buffer, like at all. You can use this very Trailblazer with Himiko Nova even, so even more use case for them. Now to move on to tier 0.5, this is where we see some interesting changes regarding Gilgamesh and Saber. Now to start with Saber, the only reason why she got better is because, well, again, it's the joint follow-up attack effect with Gilgamesh. Saber's damage is just like basically ×2 now, and while it's also interesting to see with the ult damage being like ×2 the original, Saber is still not tier 0. What a darn shame, I guess. Well, does that mean she's terrible? Absolutely not. She's really strong still. You can consider using her with Gilgamesh to really good extents. They do support each other decently, and mainly it's for the joint follow-up attack effect that makes Saber cracked when you use her with Gilgamesh, right? She just do more damage right off. The joint follow-up attack itself also hurts a lot, so it really helps with Saber's damage output, because sometimes you will feel like outside of her ultimate and her skill, it's like she doesn't do enough damage, right? But with the addition of the joint follow-up attack, it gives you that little bit of a nudge. I find it agreeable. Saber should be around right here. The rest of tier 0.5 is about the same, so we'll be focusing on a new character in Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is like a really standard sort of direct character in terms of damage output, right? He's just the guy that deals direct, damage where you crit, and that's kind of just what Gilgamesh does. What's unique with Gilgamesh is his ability to have the joint follow-up attack with Saber, and when you use Gilgamesh in this slot, they just function very well with each other. There is another playstyle where you use Gilgamesh as just the main DPS and use a bunch of general supports for Gilgamesh, which that works as well actually. Gilgamesh is not exactly just a pure support DPS in my opinion. He's like the guy that could just does things himself or not if he feels like it. Kind of suits his entire cadence, I guess. But yeah, I don't think his damage output as a support DPS or what he does as a support DPS would score him a place in tier 0. So tier 0.5 seems fair considering Saber is not exactly at the tier 0 level as well in my opinion. But yeah, do let me know what you guys think. I will say though, generally, it's still bizarre to see, randomly we see the part 2 collab releasing with Himiko Nova right before them. And all 3 of the characters that's released, none of them are really related at all to the path that we're focusing on. It's not really a bad thing that they can't do. It's just kind of random, I guess. It's like we paused on the whole elation idea for a bit. And I'm not sure what's gonna happen in the future. They could just build on the new assist skill archetype with Himiko Nova, or they could release a bunch of general characters again that really helps out the part 2 fake collab characters, or perhaps it's gonna be a mix of all of them, or we could even see the return to focusing on elation again, which is totally fine I suppose, but it's a little bit different from what we're used to. I remember back in the Remembrance days, it's mostly Remembrance characters, and sometimes you might get like a mix of something that isn't exactly pure Remembrance, right? Maybe a break character here. At most you would have like 2 different archetypes releasing, but now it feels like there's more variety, which again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Maybe it's just gonna be the new norm of the game. We'll have to see. But yeah, for the placements though, I do agree that these are the characters that should be in tier 0.5. Nothing too much to be said here. Now I will say, well, Tribi, yeah, I say it every time, but if she's E0 in this list, of course she's in tier 0.5, but usually people have her E1, right? Now, if you have her E1, I think she's tier 0 though. Otherwise, I do agree pretty much. And to move lower, we do see the weaker characters now. It says meta, but yeah, I would say they're just considered weaker at this point. For most of them, yeah, they're pretty much right about where they're supposed to be. I'm just shocked to see the Herda in tier 1.5. Well, I guess I should be also shocked to see Aglaya then in tier 1.5. They're both pretty much released around the same time. But yeah, it just feels like these 2 characters are the early characters of their version, and usually those are the characters that just doesn't do well, I guess. Other characters that I might be surprised about, I guess not really. The rest are pretty much about what I would expect. And I will say these are the characters that we should start looking at for maybe future buffs as well. Characters that I think definitely needs a buff is something like Aventurine. Ever since Danheng PT's release, there's really not too many need for Aventurine, I would say. Fusion probably needs a nudge as well of something different. She's still a limited character, right? Luocha as well, I guess, needs something. A standard healer like Luocha just doesn't really feel that nice anymore. But even then, I will say all these characters won't be the first characters to look at when we're thinking about buffs. They are still usable in niche cases, so I wouldn't write them off as terrible, right? They're just not as good. Now to look at the off-meta characters, which, yeah, these are the characters we should really start considering some buffs. And there's not really any new additions I don't see, so I'll just name a few that I think needs a buff. I would say characters like Clara needs a buff, and before Clara, well, Yunli needs a buff. She's never gotten one, so why not, right? IL Danheng definitely needs a buff. If Sela could get one, Danheng should get one. I can see Jiaoqiu needing one as well. There's so many different Archon supports that Jiaoqiu just doesn't seem to be in need of a character anymore. And it's kind of feeling like the new Blade, Modern X Blade, just invalidates Jiaoqiu's whole existence. I'm not gonna lie. Well, like a broken record at this point, but Bailu needs something. I guess, yeah, Japart as well. Oh, dude, you thought Aventurine was replaced by Danheng PT? Think about Japart, bro. And yeah, then we scroll all the way down, we see even more examples of characters that should be buffed, or at least reworked at this point, right? These are the characters that realistically no one's using at all. I personally wouldn't mind a whole rework for the lower halves of like Honkai Star Rail, all the 4 stars, all the base characters from the base banners. I don't mind them having like a rework to them, because they really just don't make sense with the grand scheme of the game at all now. The kid of Yukong, for example, is a joke, at least in the case of like the modern gameplay. But regardless though, those are all for Memory of Chaos. Take a look at Pure Fiction really quickly, focusing on mainly the new characters. For the top tiers one, you do still see Himiko. She's just good everywhere. Archer suddenly became really viable now with Pure Fiction, mainly still because of the new addition of Rin, which they're all in about tier 0.5. Same with Saber and Gilgamesh. I do agree with their abilities. I've used Archer in Pure Fiction. You're not gonna absolutely kill the boss every time with Archer's team with Rin, but they just do so well that you're never gonna struggle. And as for Saber and Gilgamesh, they're actually not that bad in AoE, so no wonder they're in like a pretty high tier for Pure Fiction. As for Apocalyptic Shadow though, same but different, right? It's still about the rewards breaking bosses or killing a really tough elite, which Archer's better at, so you see Archer and Rin at around tier 0, so Gilgamesh and Saber around tier 0.5, and Himiko Nova is just an overall good character that's just great everywhere. Considering the current environment as well, that probably helps out Himiko more than not. That'll be all for the current meta. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I personally think it's in a really congested situation, which isn't even necessarily a bad thing, right? It just means there's a lot of variety. There's so many different characters that you could use, so from a casual player standpoint, this isn't bad at all. Like, you just have a lot of teams to have fun with. I will say the congestion that is a problem. It happens in the lower half. There's just too many characters that need some love, and I guess for the rest of it, it's not that bad. But then again, that's just my personal opinion though, and there are some niche cases like a character not being that great for long enough, something like the Herda, right? Those are definitely problems that we should think about, but for the rest of it, I'm content with this, honestly. Do let me know what you think though. That'll be all. Take care.